I'm very lucky to have with me Siraj Desai, Judge Siraj Desai, who's I've known for so many years. How many years have we known each other now? Since I was a cub reporter at the Western Cape High Court, Judge. It's wonderful to see you.
Nice to see you again, Annika. Good afternoon to everybody.
Thank you so much for coming down, but I know that you wouldn't miss a historic moment like this. Along with
this is history unfolding.
It really is, which is why it's so important that we're both here. Your memories, just take us back as a human rights activist, as an anti-apartheid activist. Yeah. You had a lot of dealings with the late Arch.
Yes. Yeah. I first encountered the Archbishop when he was not the Archbishop yet. I was employed, as you know, at my earlier career as an article clerk to the late Dalai Omar. Now, in the early 1980s, late 1970s, a lot of the cases, we dealt with many cases arising out of the 76 uprising. Bishop Tutu had then arrived in Cape Town or in Johannesburg and was a frequent visitor in the office. It was a cheery, you could hear him from the entering the office, a cheery greeting the staff, greeting everybody. And he played a crucial role in assisting us in our defense of thousands of the victims of the 76 uprising. So that's my first encounter with him. But over the years, I got to know him much better, and I got to know him politically. You know, he was the most all-South African person one could conceivably think of. All-South African in a sense also, not that he transcended religious barriers, but he transcended all other barriers as well. The Archbishop was a person who would be comfortable in the home of a poor Muslim person or in Bishop's Court with others. He transcended not simply religious barriers, but also class barriers. He was a spokesman for all South Africa, poor, rich, Muslim, Christian, Hindu, Jewish. And that was his hallmark. The way he dealt with people, the way he related to people, affirmed his total humanity, if I put it that way.
And his capacity to forgive.
And his capacity to forgive, that was very dominant at the time that he chaired the Truth and Reconciliation hearings. But let me just divert for a minute. What I think most important about the life and practice of Bishop Tutu, or Archbishop Tutu, was him embracing human rights issues everywhere.
Absolutely.
You see, it's not simply we participated in the struggle for freedom in this country. He was there. When it was time to impose sanctions, he supported the imposition of sanctions. He wasn't a wilting flower when confronted with issues of significance. But more than that, he was an international figure. Zimbabwe was an example, as Kevin mentioned earlier on, the problems that occurred then, but most significantly, the more contentious issues of our time. He was on the right side, or was on the right side. I think in particular of Palestine. He didn't wilt under the propaganda that emanates from certain quarters. He was firmly, unequivocally on the side of those who were the victims of oppression in Palestine. My late colleague, Essa Musa, as you knew him in your younger days, introduced the Archbishop to the struggle of the Kurdish people. They struggled to create their own nationhood and oppression in the different countries that they find themselves in. The Archbishop actually became a champion for their cause. And I see the messages that are coming through of solidarity from the Kurdish nationalist movements in support of him. In every other issue that one can think of, he was there. He was in the front of if you mention any issue. Some we may disagree with him, some of the issues that he took on.
He didn't mind that. He was happy to be disagreed with.
Yeah, one or two issues that one would disagree with, purely on the basis of scientific thinking, but he was there, the all-South African hero, defending causes here and everywhere else in the world. And that's what made him unique. Unique not simply for us as South Africans, but as a citizen of the world. I think he should be given the accolades that are coming now are entirely appropriate, because we are talking of a person who was one of his generation, an outstanding figure of his generation.
Is he the
he
last
wasn't
of his
party
kind?
political, and that made him more significant.
Well, he never joined the ANC.
He wasn't party political. He supported all political causes that were progressive, whether it's in Palestine, whether it's in Kurdistan, and where elsewhere that one can think of. And he was an active supporter of the causes that one can think of.
Judge, when you heard the news that he passed on, what was the first thing you thought about him?
You know, my memory, I suppose I'm an old man now, so my memory went back to the first time I met him. And now he walked into our office with a cheery hello to everybody. Now, I'll tell you a story. When we, as you know, advocates are rather, you would know that, Annika, advocates are not generous with their fees. And we were attorneys and we had briefed the counsel, a particular counsel. We hadn't briefed him, he had briefed himself, but he used our firm as the instructing attorney. He sent us an enormous bill, a huge bill. And we couldn't possibly pay it, and he threatened to blacklist us at the Cape Bar, which you know would have stopped us from practicing if we had blacklisted. And we were doing all the political cases of that time. So Dalla, my boss then, Dalla Omar, spoke to the Archbishop and said, look, we got this bill. Shall we pay it? We would have got money from the Archbishop to pay it, from the South African Council of Churches. So the Archbishop, believing in the humanity of people, but underestimating the avariceness of advocates, said, I'll speak to him. And he went to speak to the advocate. He came back about 2 hours later and shouting at the door, Dalla, pay him. He's a madman, pay him. Apparently, instead of mitigating his fees or bringing his fees down, the advocate tried to convince the Archbishop to become a Muslim. So they added to the problem. We all had a good laugh about that. And we told the bishops that, we told the Archbishop, you know, now you're getting really to know South African lawyers.
And here we are having a good laugh at that memory that you've brought us, which is very special. And I thank you so much, Judge, for coming in today. It's midday and it's quite hot here, and you always have something special to contribute. So thank you.
Thank you very much. May I just use the opportunity again to extend my condolences to the Tutu family, and not simply to them, but all South Africans who are now suffering the loss of our hero. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. That was Judge Siraj Desai. And as he correctly said, condolences to all South Africans. So many people who were standing outside St. George's Cathedral to pay their respect over the past few days have said, who will speak up now? Who will be bold enough to speak the truth? Because the late Archbishop Desmond Mpilo Tutu has passed away.